What's good, YouTube, man? It's your boy SB, back here with another sports break. In this video, we're going to discuss the boy Kevin Durant's great performance he had the other night, some of the firings that's been going on around the NBA with the coaches, and this rash of injuries that's hit the league. So if you like that type of content, make sure you like, leave a comment at the end of the video, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So neither than that, let's get into the video. We just witnessed one of the greatest performances ever put on in the NBA playoffs, and it was by Kevin Durant of the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets win this game against the Bucks. They go up in the 3-2 series league, and they do it on the shoulders of the Slim Reaper. He had very little help, but he did have a little bit of help. The team was kind of boosted with James Harden's return. This is his first game back since the first game of the series when he went down within the first minute of game one. James Harden wasn't very effective offensively as far as scoring the ball goes, but he was very effective with his ability to pass the ball and being another rebounder. He finished the game with 6 assists and 8 rebounds. That's pretty good for a guy who was working on one leg. And James Harden was out there limping almost the whole night. But this wasn't about James Harden. This wasn't about the second scorer that they had, Jeff Green, who is also just not coming back from injury. I think this is the second game back. And he was the person that assisted Kevin Durant the most in winning this game. But this video is about giving Kevin Durant his flowers. Kevin Durant was amazing last night. He did everything that he could do. He knew that this was a game that he was going to win because Game 6 is going to be a tough one to win in Milwaukee. But the guy put up 49 points and only shot the ball 23 times. And we give a lot to the points because the points is almost 50, and that's a lot to drop in a playoff game. But his 17 rebounds and 10 assists were very important as well. And I think he's the first player in NBA history to score 45, get 15 rebounds, and have at least 10 assists. So that is almost a 50-point triple-double. That's bananas, man. That is bananas. So everybody's been giving Kevin Durant his respect. He deserves it. I said in the previous video that if someone wants to say that Kevin Durant is the best in the world over LeBron James or any other player in the NBA, at this point you really can't argue that. What he's been able to do in these playoffs and all season has been nothing short of amazing. When you think about last year, the guy tore his Achilles, and people usually don't come back from Achilles injuries doing this type of stuff. They don't look like the same player that they were before the injury, and Kevin Durant looks better than he did before the injury. He's still solid defensively, and he still can pull up on anybody in this league. I think he took 9 shots in the fourth quarter of that game, and every single shot was contested. And he definitely banked all 9 of them. Some of them was in some people's faces. Some of them was on a run out. Some of them was just him doing work, yanking the ball all over the place and pulling up at will. Kevin Durant was unstoppable last night, and it really didn't matter who was in front of him. And that brings me to the next point. A lot of people have been coming at Giannis for now stepping up and guarding KD in the fourth quarter. I think at that point, when KD's in that moment, there's not a player on this earth that could guard him. So it didn't matter who was on him. And let's give respect to what PJ Tucker's been doing this series. He's done a great job guarding a player that's infinitely better than him. 20 times better than him defensively and offensively. So I don't knock them letting PJ Tucker guard Kevin Durant and not forcing Giannis to make that switch. But I do have some qualms that I have with Giannis and the way that he played that fourth quarter last night. And there was 3 moments in that game where Giannis had the chance to show that he's an MVP in this league, that he's a defensive player in this league, and that he's a top 5 player in the NBA. And the first one came at the free throw line. All these playoffs, Giannis has been struggling with shooting free throws. Not sure what his problem is, and it looks like right now it's just all in his head. Come down to a clutch point in the game, think it was like a 3-point game, he missed a free throw. You can't have those that late in the game, especially when you got one of the best players in the NBA having the type of night that Kevin Durant had. My second problem came with him, had James Harden in the post. And James Harden, let me see, if you didn't see the game, James Harden was out there on one leg literally. He was running slow. He didn't look like he was really needed to be there. You could tell that he was toughing through that injury. You see Giannis get Harden on the post, get the ball, and as soon as you get the ball, help starts to come for James Harden, obviously, and he waves off the help against Giannis. And Giannis bails him out by taking some turnaround fadeaway jumper that obviously missed the goal. Why don't you take him to the rim? And I don't want to blame Giannis too much because nobody in the whole game attacked James Harden. James Harden was out there on one leg. Nobody on the Bucks drove, made him make a decision, make him jump. He was out there doing whatever he wanted to do, and he was out there guarding any way he wanted to guard. It was a shame that no one could take advantage of this. And down to the last possession for the Bucks, Chris Middleton drives into the paint, and he drops the ball off to Giannis, who has a wide open dunk. But instead of catching and finishing, Giannis tries to finish before he gets the ball in his hands, and it's a turnover. These are things that you have to expect more from someone that's going to be considered a top 5, top 3 player in the NBA. And the playoffs are where moments are made. The playoffs are where players make their names. And Kevin Durant knows that. James Harden knows that. Giannis has to step up in these moments and be the player that the Bucks need him to be. He has to be a top 5 player. He has to look like a 2-time MVP. Like, what is that? Like, if we can get on Paul George for his performances, then we got to get on Giannis for his. He has to be better defensively and offensively, in my opinion. It seems like injuries have played a huge role in this year's playoffs. We've seen a lot of guys come in injured, being Jamal Murray. We've seen guys get injured during the playoffs, being Anthony Davis. And now we get news today that Kawhi Leonard probably tore his ACL. And if Kawhi Leonard can't go for the Clippers, that makes them a lot more tough for them to beat the Jazz. They're going to rely a lot more on Paul George, and they're going to have some of those other guys step up offensively and score the ball. But them losing Kawhi Leonard is big. Hoping God that it's not an ACL injury, that it may be just a sprain, and that maybe he can play in a possible Game 7. He's already been ruled out for Game 5. He won't play in that, but if they can get him for a Game 7 or even Game 6, then this is not as big of a problem as it seems. But the scare is that it looks like he's torn his ACL. And the problem with it is in Game 4, the Clippers were up by a lot when he banged knees with Joe Ingles, and that's where this injury was caused. He was having such a good game. They were playing well. Him and PG both had 30. I don't understand why he was out there besides the fact of keeping the flow going, but even that is not a good reason. But doesn't change the fact that he was there. We hope to God that it's not as serious as they fear that it is. And maybe we can get to see him before this series is over, and definitely in the next round if they make it past that far. So we're going to have to stay tuned, see what kind of injury Kawhi has. But we pray to God that it's nothing too serious. Another thing that's hit the news wire today is Chris Paul has been putting the safety protocols. Been putting the safety protocols for the Western Conference Finals. Now, from what I've seen in my research is that the wait time for him coming back is shorter if he's been vaccinated. And from further research, I've found out that he has been vaccinated. So he might not miss any time. And if he does miss any time, it might be just one game. But the Suns are kind of in the same boat as the Clippers if they don't have Chris Paul. It's really understated how important Chris Paul is to the Phoenix Suns and how much he does for them on and off the floor. Being that constant leader for them on the court and off the court, in practice and before games, it can't be understated. That's a high value thing for the Suns. Says a lot that, the Suns were hot last year, but no one predicted them to make the Western Conference Finals. And the only thing that's different from this year and last year is Chris Paul. So Chris Paul has come in, he's made a statement on that team, and if they're going to play the Jazz or the Clippers, they're going to need them to get past one of those two teams. So Kawhi's injury seems to be a lot more serious than Chris Paul's. I don't expect Chris Paul to miss much time. Like I said, at least one game, if that, because he might be ready for Game 1. We don't know how long the Clipper Jazz series might go on. If that goes 7, then he might not miss any time at all. But Kawhi Leonard potentially tearing his ACL is a very big deal. And it's very scary for the league. We got to keep in mind that these guys only had a 72-day offseason and in between these last 2 seasons. So there's not much time in between for them to recover and rest their body. We heard LeBron James come out today and said that he warned the league about something like this, but they refused to listen to him. And I understand the league wanting to get back on track, wanting to get it back right. And I understand coaches having to play their best player to win games. But this quick turnaround has seemed to be more damage than it has good. There were 2 coach firings today in the NBA, and they're both kind of head scratchers for me. We'll start in Washington with Scott Brooks. It appears that his contract was up and they couldn't come to an agreement on how much money should be paid, and it seems like the issue really fell on coaching staff. Scott Brooks wanted to return his same coaching staff and sticks to the guys that's been with him the past 5 seasons in Washington. But the front office wanted him to change up a couple guys, fire some guys, and hire new ones. I respect Scott Brooks for staying solid and stand by his guys, but this seems to be the hinge point on why he couldn't get a new contract done. Scott Brooks is a great coach. He's a very influential coach, so he'll be able to bounce back on his feet. He's going to get one of these job openings, and I think he might go to the other job that got opened today, which is the New Orleans Pelicans, letting go of Stan Van Gundy after 1 season. And this firing was a little more weird for me. It seems as though they didn't really trust Stan, that the front office was trying to run the organization and do the coach's job. Stan Van Gundy did an amazing job for the Pelicans this season. This is going to be Zion's 3rd season. He's going to have a 3rd coach. So, I mean, that instability is not going to be good for the development and for the start of his career. But what Stan Van Gundy did with Zion was nothing short of amazing this season. No other coach thought to put him as a point forward. No other coach thought that it would work at that. And him bringing the ball up the court made a world of difference for this organization and for this team. I think they need to find a coach that they're going to have in there and have stable, and someone that Zion can rely on and know that, hey, this is going to be my coach for the future or for a good chunk of my contract and my career. The instability of having a coach carousel come in on such a young player is ridiculous. Now, both of these coaches might get other jobs. I think Scott Brooks is probably a better candidate than Stan Van Gundy. But Van Gundy is also a good coach as well, defensive coach. And he knows he's a real player's coach. Players vouch for Stan Van Gundy all the time. Outside of Dwight Howard, of course. But these 2 coach firings was a little weird for me. You add that to Terry Stotts being fired, which was a little more predictable. But the Pelicans have word that they've been interested in Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd seems to be a hot coach for this summer, but I don't understand why. The last time we seen the man in the head coaching position, he was horrible. It was horrible. So we'll have to keep a close eye on what's going on in New Orleans and in Washington with their coaching vacancy and some of the other coaches openings that's going on around the NBA. Alright, you guys, that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys giving me the watch, giving me the view. Let's get to the comment of the day real quick before we get up out of here. Just down below, let me know, do you think Kevin Durant's the best player in the world right now? Is he better than LeBron? Better than anybody else in the NBA? And let me know why. Let's get a healthy conversation going down in the comment box below. And if you like this type of content, make sure you leave a like and hit the subscribe button. And other than that, I'm out, man. I appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all next time.